You're too young to remember that show. Any comments from Zoom? No comments? Yes, yes.
Jessica Bolte, just to note, both PTOs and both the elementary school and the middle school have been putting together a pretty big teacher appreciation week this week.
Mhm.
This morning, Mary R. Fisher provided breakfast for all of the elementary staff. Tomorrow, there's another surprise for them. Wednesday, they're getting a lunch. Thursday is another event, and then Friday, they have their sweet treat program that they're getting. In the middle school today, they had build their own lemonade bar. Tuesday, again, they have a supply gift coming. Wednesday, they have some supplements for they were already doing a potluck on Wednesday because it was a half a day. So we're providing some supplement for that. And then Thursday are those raffle baskets or gift certificates that were provided from businesses in the community. So we'll be raffling those off to teachers. Their names will be drawn and they'll be announced Thursday morning. And then Friday, they'll also have breakfast being catered.
Yeah, you can also go to Amazon.
Yes.
That's been posted and buy supplies for the school.
Yes, Mary R. Fisher put out a wish list for the elementary school teachers. There was a really big thank you for your donation. There was a really big outpouring of that. That helped us to supply items for their trail mix bar that they're getting on Thursday, snacks for their lounge room, colored pencils, construction paper, bubbles, sidewalk chalk. We had a really big outpouring from our community for that, and that was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Kathleen,
Yes.
is that above and beyond the Amazon Smile purchases?
So Amazon Smile has been discontinued. So they stopped providing their percentage. So like if you had like one of the PTOs as your beneficiary or even the Alumni Association, Amazon Smile phased out their program. I believe February was the end of it. Yeah, it was February. You got your last like sort of an estimated amount of what you would have gotten. And that is now done because they wanted to go in a different direction.
So we can't tag ourselves onto anything like that, or
No, not anymore. The only thing I could suggest is I know PTO is part of Box Tops. So if you open up an account and you put Mary R. Fisher in there as your beneficiary and you scan those receipts because you no longer cut the Box Tops out because we need some updating in that too, because we still get them cut out. That's another way. I think we usually average about $200 a year through Box Tops. But those are, and then there's always the lovely amount of fundraisers that we push lately.
all right, thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay, then we move on to student spotlight and.
Current events of May 2023. May 1st was Principal Appreciation Day, the AP Government Exam, Progress Reports Review, and College Decision Day. May 2nd was NHS induction at 6:30. May 3rd was the TPS Art Show beginning at Thompson Library. They also had a faculty meeting and spring concert held place at 6:30. On May 4th, the first part of the AP exam for macroeconomics taken by Eric Levesque was taken. The financial reality fair trip happened for FBLA. On May 5th, the AP US History exam was taken. The AP microeconomics, the second part of the AP exam for the microeconomics was taken by Eric Levesque. On May 8th, the AP calculus exam was taken. It was School Lunch Hero Day. Spirit Week begins. Ballot petitioning for class officers begins. And the art show opening reception was at 5:30 and 7 at the Thompson Public Library. On May 9th, AP English and AP Lang Comp exam occurred. The student comp meeting will be happening at 7 p.m. On May 10th, it was a Friday, and the school nurse appreciation and the AP bio exam. On May 11th was prom day grading. May 12th is the TSLT in service from 7:25 to 12:15. Ballot petitions for our class officers are due by noon to Mr. Lett, and prom is at 6 at Southbridge Hotel and Conference Center. May 16th is Modern Music Ensemble performs at Day Kimball Hospital Hospice Ceremony. May 17th is a staff meeting. On May 19th is Grady's Music Festival and the Diversity Council Field Trip. May 23rd is the 2023 and 2024 class officer elections. May 24th is music awards held at 6 p.m. in the high school gym. May 25th is the 2023-2024 Board of Ed liaison selection. May 26th is the community service hours due for 9th and 10th grade. May 29th is no school for Memorial Day, but TMHS music marches for the town parade at 8:30 a.m. and the national anthem singers perform at local cemeteries. On May 30th is the trip to Washington DC from 5:30 to 6:02. May 31st is the end of the fourth marking period and athletic awards are at 6. Which we have board form, we have a student wrote a request to bring vending machines into the school, highlighting how revenue earned could be used towards extracurricular activities. The student council advisor followed up with the student, explaining that our ability to provide snack food to students is quite limited due to our participation in the National School Lunch Program of Healthy Food Certification. The student questioned the student council about the status of the courtyard in the center of the high school. Earlier in this academic year, the area was landscaped to allow an area to be accessible for students. Additionally, 2 Adirondack chairs were made by the Pride Group and placed in the courtyard. A student council advisor talked to Dr. May about the possibility of teachers using the courtyard for class time, and he's open to the idea. Choosing students using the courtyard would need to be considered with classes whose windows are open to the courtyard. And with intercession being at the end of the year for the first time, a student questioned if there would be enough time available for work to be completed in those classes, particularly for graduating seniors and those who are going on the trip to Washington, DC. Students going on the DC trip will be missing intercession days, while away, seniors who need intercession credits to graduate will be missing intercession days that fall after graduation. Students should make sure they notify their teachers for circumstances causing them to miss any time during intercession and should make arrangements with their teachers to complete all assignments. Likewise, Ms. Steglet said, we will be meeting with the students attending the DC trip to review the expectations and procedures getting the work they will be missing.
All right, good evening, everybody. Each month, Turtle Memorial High School Student Spotlight Program recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding achievement, character, leadership, attitude, and/or contributions to the school and community. April's Student Spotlight honoree is senior Hannah LeClaire, and Hannah's mother Lisa is here on behalf of this evening. Hannah's mother was nominated by Maddie Copley, Chloe Manzo, Megan Noctegal, Miss Sabansky, and Mrs. Ouellette. In Maddie's nomination, she states, Hannah is very deserving of this award. She is very involved in the school as well as the community. She always has a smile on her face and makes sure others are all right. She takes on so much and does it all with a positive attitude. If something needs to get done, Hannah is always the first to volunteer. She never fails to put a smile on my face. She is one of the most caring people I've ever met. My life wouldn't be the same without her in it. Chloe adds, Hannah is always a ray of sunshine wherever she goes, on the field, in class, or even just passing in the halls. She's so kind and genuine. She constantly puts her best work into everything she does. Hannah is so involved in her community, and I'm so proud of her and all her accomplishments. Hannah's friend Megan also says, Hannah is the hardest worker I've ever met. She steps forward to complete every task that is offered to her. She's always there for others and makes everybody's day just from getting a hi from her in the hallway. She lights up every room she walks into and is extremely funny. Every day I look forward to seeing her and being around her positive energy. Hannah impacted my life for the better without even realizing it. Several of the staff also nominated Hannah. Miss Sabansky says Hannah is one of the most caring, patient, selfless, and hardworking individuals I've had the pleasure of getting to know these last 4 years. She's always willing to help out anyone who asks, and she will put in the extra time and effort to something she wants to achieve. She's able to juggle so many responsibilities and always does so with joy and happiness. She's beyond deserving of this recognition. Mrs. Ouellette adds, I really appreciate how Hannah is always willing to contribute more than her fair share to the clubs and organizations within which she serves her school community. Even more importantly, she's somebody that you can really count on to follow her with the responsibility she willingly takes on. I would like to thank Hannah for all that she has done for TMHS students and staff. She'll be remembered fondly when she soon graduates. While consistently achieving high honors throughout high school, Hannah has taken a leading role in many school organizations and athletics, including as vice president of the National Honor Society, corresponding secretary of the Turtle Lot Student Leadership Team, senior class secretary, as well as the captain of the girls soccer and the indoor track teams. Hannah is also a member of the Student Spirit Association, Student Council, and FBLA. In addition, Hannah enjoys volunteering with community organizations such as TEAG, the Weekend Warrior Project, Dog Orphans, Teacher Education Association, and the Mary R. Fisher Elementary School PTO. About her involvement in her school community, Hannah says, each of these organizations has taught me many valuable lessons, and I'm very thankful for their generosity in the Thompson community. When asked what motivates her, Hannah says, I am motivated by the progress that comes from hard work. In my eyes, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing accomplishment come from dedication. On top of being motivated by progress, my friends and family truly push me to do my best, and I'm thankful for that every day. Hannah plans to attend UConn to pursue a math or science related career. However, Hannah says, I enjoy helping people. It's a passion of mine that I would like to explore more of and perhaps find a career in. Finally, Hannah's message to the school community is, thank you to the Turtle Lot community. I've created valuable bonds between students and faculty that I'll always treasure. I'm so lucky to be able to see so many smiling faces I love every day here at school. I've been able to cherish numerous positive memories from my 4 years in Turtle Lot. I truly would not be where I am today without the school community that I have the pleasure of calling my family. Congratulations, Hannah.
Wait, I would like to say May is a very jam-packed month for you. Okay, I will entertain a motion for the approval of our meeting minutes of April 3rd.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Matt. A second. Thank you, Linda. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing no discussion, I'll put the motion for the approval of the regular meeting minutes of April 3rd to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. Any subcommittee updates? We did have a
We had a communication. Yeah, we had a communications subcommittee meeting on April 24th. Basically, we talked about ongoing initiatives, continuing the Did You Know campaign online. We discussed the possibility of a senior night for softball and incorporating a special singing guest. So that is on May 18th. They'll be coming to do the special the national anthem. And then we talked about the potential for Athletes of the Week to be an initiative potentially for next year. The incentive program, just talking about the final rewards that we have, what next year's rewards might be, and fundraising opportunities, and then the incorporation of the middle school into that program. Some new stuff, which I see is on the agenda, is potentially athletic sponsorship. We talked about exit polling, which is happening. That's planned for the day of voting. People can do a 3-question survey so that will help guide the town in the event that we have to do a second referendum. And then we also just talked about how the communications committee can support the budget, whether it be, waving signs and photos of neglect in town and that sort of stuff. Our next meeting is May 23rd at 6 o'clock, and that will be our last meeting for this school year. I don't know.
Okay, I will now turn it over to Superintendent Smith, who will update us on the enrollment report.
Good evening, everyone. We have increased by 4 students over last month's report, and at the top of that report, there isn't 3 months of March. That column before May should be April. There's currently 899 students, we're up 4 students. We have gained 1 student at Mary R. Fisher from 390 to 391. We've gained 3 students at the middle school from 284 to 287, and we're holding steady at the high school with 219 students. I'm not going to get into out of district placement because I know Dr. Jones will talk about that in his update. Okay.
Who's going to speak to the Mary R. Fisher Playground, the ADA program?
So I can talk about it. Bill Birch and I had the pleasure of meeting with the folks from the Mary R. Fisher PTO who have been spearheading the movement to raise funds for the new playground. So what we wanted to bring before you today, I know the board has already approved that group raising funds for the new playground. They since have gone off and have gotten a site plan, and they also have a rendition of what the playground will look like once they raise the money. We just heard they 26,000.
I'm waiting on the final invoicing from the Booster-thon fundraiser, but I am projecting that we are actually gonna probably be closer to 32 to 35 by the end of the school year, once our budget has been. All the field trip requests have been put in, any funds for anything else that hasn't been expended will be transferred to that account, so we'll be in that level, I believe. By the, don't quote me, but I think that's where we're gonna hover.
I do know we're waiting on possibly some legislative support.
Yes.
And having some meetings with those folks. And then also Danielle, just to remind myself that they are writing a grant and they need letter of support. I think they've asked Principal Prentice, myself. I think Amy St. Ange to write a letter of support for the grant they're putting in for. So
Correct.
they're moving along to get this playground.
We've been busy. Yes.
So anyway, I think it'll be lovely addition. And if all holds tight with the budget, then the old playground will get repaired, opened up for the start of school, maybe even the summer. And then folks can work on this playground. So it'd be really a nice addition.
Where would this playground go?
The, where they're currently playing the blacktop, where
Basketball.
the
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
well, the basketball hoop that has no hoop and no backboard.
Up there or down, because wasn't there some talk about where the tennis courts were too?
I don't know.
Bill,
At
can you-
some point in time, there may have been discussion at the tennis courts, but we're at the basketball hoop, so that hill that goes down towards the elementary, that part where they're currently split between there or the soccer field, that's where it's gonna go in the grass area behind the basketball hoop.
Basketball pole.
Yeah, that's. Did I explain that right?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
right, Eaton softball bus has arrived, they're gonna go get her.
Where are we gonna do this? The health food certificate approval?
Yes, you have to read that.
Oh, we just did this a month or so ago.
It seems like it, but it seems it's always back here, but this is for next year.
Okay.
Wasn't this the one where I was talking about the ho-hos and the ring dings and the,
No, that was the health and wellness policy.
oh, all right.
Oh, good.
You know,
Still said we should bring back ring dings.
So we have that to look forward to,
Vending
saying something.
bananas and apples. and-
We can use,
Yeah, the
Postal
vending
supplies.
machines can't have anything that's eating with the food service program.
Yes, so they're out. Okay. But we have to do this healthy food certificate approval. Gonna read that.
Thank you.
I guess. Nobody's volunteering.
I'll make a motion. That, for my glasses.
bring back little Debbie's.
Yeah. Pursuant to DGS section 10-21. 5F of the Thompson Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the school under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups. Do I gotta read both of them?
No, we'll have to vote separately. So just remade the motion.
I did, I made the motion.
He made the motion.
Yeah.
That's the exact wording we need, so we need a second. to that.
Linda just did.
Yeah, just when is discussion?
Well, Linda just,
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
second it.
Okay, discussion.
So I have a question. So like, for instance, basketball games where they sell concessions at a basketball game for a fundraiser at school grounds on a school function.
Carrot and celery only.
It has to be within a 1 hour after school dismisses, which they are.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So it doesn't say that though, on
But
this,
that has nothing to do
with this.
with that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is for the meal program, but in our health and wellness policy that we passed last month,
Yes.
it does say that it's 1 hour
Okay.
after school dismisses.
Okay, very good.
So this is pertaining to school.
Correct.
Okay. All right,
So one other question. So going back to what the students have asked for a vending machine. This would negate any of that
Yes, they cannot.
unless it was,
Water, they could sell water. But that's about it, unless.
What about like
any other-
granola bars and stuff,
Yeah, well.
trail mix?
We got rid of all of those things years ago, and besides, who's gonna monitor that and make sure it hits the standards that, so it's a policing thing as well, so. Yeah, and with the culinary arts program opening up, and it will also not be able to sell to students until 1 hour after school lets out, there'll be that competition as well.
so with this that we're gonna vote on. Are there any state or federal funds that are supporting these mandates, or is this all?
Of course not. No, but we do get reimbursed for the meal program, so technically, yes, we do get money back for the meals that we sell to students.
So. How does the culinary arts program work within this? So these kids are gonna be making stuff, but they can't provide it to fellow
Teachers.
students, they can provide it to teachers.
Teachers or things
So
that
we don't
happen
care if the
beyond,
teachers are unhealthy.
beyond.
Okay.
So now what about things like the candy grams and stuff
That's
like
not
that?
allowed.
Okay,
And if they do a candy gram,
yes.
then they have to use one of their 3 waivers and send it to my office. And then I will approve it. And the principals are pretty good about knowing that they have 3 shots. So
I
if
see.
they want to do something cute at
Yeah, right.
Valentine's
that's
Day,
what-
right?
Yeah, yeah.
We try to allow for that. And we added that language in the health and wellness policy. That wasn't part of the sample policy, but I feel like there should be a few times a year, right, that we can deviate from the rule. So,
Got it.
and it's worked out fine.
okay, well, we are obviously obligated, but I will bring this to a vote. I'm not gonna read the whole motion again, but pursuant to Connecticut General, yeah, right.
Statute.
As written by Mr. Wachowski.
Yeah. Section 10-21 and 5F. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
No.
No,
bring it up with your senator.
just don't want table talk pies and Little Debbie Street. That's what we grew up on. They should all enjoy it too. Try it for you.
Any abstentions? Okay. Well, okay, then the motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
How many?
I have a post-vote question.
Yeah,
What would have happened? Do we lose any state funding or state accreditation if we didn't pass this?
We couldn't be part of the federal meal program.
Okay, so we needed to pass that.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, just making sure.
So I just
All right.
just one serious question. I mean, I'm off my table talk pie thing for a second, but
Okay.
if somebody wanted to bring in, say, a vending machine that is a cooler. And they had carrot sticks, celery sticks, if someone developed something like that, would we be allowed to do that?
So it can't compete with food service during the school day. It could be offered after school or before school, but it can't compete with food service.
So we're pretty much restricted. There's no more vending machines. pretty
Those,
much at
those went
all.
away in public school years ago.
Yeah.
I think we hung on to a water one.
Yeah, remember we had a soda machine and then that went to all water.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we even had to take them out of teacher lounges. So.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, vote number 2. The Thompson Board of Education will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or a school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food and beverage sales.
30 minutes, not enough.
We in a
Was
discussion.
was that a motion?
Yeah, that's the
All
one.
right, good. Then I'll second that.
Discussion.
Discussion.
So if we ever reopen Spinelli's Deli
Yes,
during a soccer event, is that allowed? And she sells hot dogs,
As long
pizza,
as it's a game.
No,
But it's-
the
correct.
game, not practice, but. the
but
game.
it's within an hour.
Well,
after.
30 minutes.
30
Yeah,
minutes,
it's
so-
30
Okay,
minutes.
so,
It would be fine.
okay,
And at the actual, if we're putting on our play, we
Yeah.
could have intermission, you could sell cookies or whatever, hot dogs.
so are there any events that we're restricting? If we approve this, are we restricting any events where PTOs or fundraisers want to do this?
They're all well aware that they need to do that. They all got a copy of the health and wellness policy.
Okay.
I think, we got a little off track, I'll be honest with you. We weren't policing that very well during the pandemic, and rightly so, right? But we do need to get back to being, following, what we're doing, because we're being assessed by the federal government when we take that WellStar, internal assessment, which we'll do next January again, so. And UConn monitors it. They just called us last week, Danielle, for a copy of that assessment, so they are monitoring.
But they're contradictory though. This one says 30 minutes, the health and wellness says an hour.
Right, we've always went with the rule of thumb an hour. By the time
but-
everybody gets their stuff together, it is an hour anyway.
Sure, so. Okay, everybody. All happy with that? Okay, then I will call for a motion, call for a vote on the motion to approve that we abide by, section 10-22(1)(q) with Connecticut General Statutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes, whatever. All opposed say no.
No. Be a hypocrite if I said yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
6-2.
It should be 5-2 on
5-2.
both of them. I voted no both.
You do too?
Mhm.
Okay, so
5-2.
now it's 5-2. Not hear you or no, I heard, he's so loud, I didn't hear.
Sorry. I'll be louder next time.
Speak up, Jess.
My mouth is big enough, right?
Okay, sorry about that, Jeff. Just gonna, and you, of all people, I did. Oh, well.
It's just the
Okay.
unfunded request, it drives me nuts.
Yep.
I just-
Okay, next on our agenda is the preschool waiver.
So if the board, members of the board remember, at the beginning of the year, we changed the language for tuition waivers. And I needed to come before the board if a teacher put in a request to have tuition waived. We do have a kindergarten teacher, who, by the way, was one of the reasons that prompted me to bring that policy change before the board, is requesting a preschool waiver for her son to attend Mary R. Fisher Elementary School. So I can't grant that without your approval. So I'm here tonight
Do you
to
want,
seek.
do you? For purposes of discussion, I'll make a motion. To discuss the preschool waiver.
I'll second that.
So
Okay,
may
a motion's
I
been made
discuss?
to grant a waiver, and Tom has made the second, and now it's up for discussion. Okay,
May I discuss?
yes, you may.
Thank you. I can't get behind this. We worked really hard to get that language out of the teacher's contract. And we got it out. This was brought to us about a year ago. And it got very little or no support from the board for the school nurse. At the time. You know, the teachers make a decent enough salary that they can afford the tuition. There's students, kids in this town that can't afford to come here. Because the parents have no way of paying. The teachers can pay for this, and frankly, to me, this would be a nightmare when we're trying to pass a budget to give away. To give away tuition. I just think it's bad. We didn't support it last year, and I wouldn't support it again this time.
Well, I do support it, Bill, because we need teachers. Teachers are hard to come by. We are one of the lowest, unfortunately, because of budget constraints that we have suffered over the multiple years. We are, and I did research on this for letters to the editor and to answer some questions on Facebook. We are one of the lowest paying in all our steps, and you know this.
I get it. I
Yeah.
totally, and I understand the reasoning.
Yeah.
But does this teacher live in town?
No,
No, that's why she's asking for a waiver to
No,
place a child.
it would be
School.
for any preschool.
This isn't preschool. I thought you just said for Mary R. Fisher.
it's the student is going into preschool,
Oh,
but it's a
okay, I'm sorry, I
tuition
misunderstood.
waiver. To allow the child to come here because he is a non-resident, right?
Okay.
So,
So the child is entering preschool. Okay.
yes.
Misunderstood that, sorry, but still. She is a teacher at Mary R. Fisher. Correct. Right. And teachers are really hard to come by, and that's nationwide. Nationwide, it's hard. Look, you just heard me say that the average teaching longevity is 14 years. And it's even worse for beginning teachers who are starting out in their careers. They burn out after 5 years. Same study.
I understand, and I get all of the statistics,
Right,
and I
so
get
we
that,
need to
but this,
encourage teachers to stay, and for some reason. You know, there is turnover, but we have a great amount of teachers who have stayed.
and
large
a
amount of
great
our
amount of teachers who have paid tuition for their preschool
Well-
kid students. They have.
I understand that too, but
There are so many deserving kids out there that we don't waive tuitions for them. It's,
well,
it's.
the tuition is on a sliding scale, isn't it?
Okay, then,
All right,
then this should be paid on the sliding scale.
So I have questions. A, what is the unsliding tuition? B, are there in-town students that don't get to come to preschool because it's full or because they can't afford it? What are the answers to
I
those?
believe we still have openings this year.
No.
So off the top of my head, I don't know what the preschool tuition is. Bill, do you know?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Come on, Bill. Doesn't expect you to do everything.
Peyton was in pre-K, yeah, when Peyton was in pre-K. How old is she? 8 years ago, it was $300 a month, not on a sliding scale.
Okay.
That was
That's close
your,
enough. Yeah,
this request comes on the heels of that policy change because we were trying to maintain the staffing that we had and for recruitment.
right. I remember that. Beginning of the school year.
so, my 2 cents is we need to retain all our teachers to the best of our ability. That's my 2 cents. worth. Yes, Tom.
One comment, if this person was to find preschool outside of school. You're talking 300, I mean,
A week.
a week. So is that not enough of a cost savings, even if they were to pay the 300 a month? I'm just looking at it that way.
Yeah, but that was 8 years ago, so I don't know what it is. now.
Even if it's 500 a month, it's still a savings because childcare
Isn't very.
on a weekly basis. When I had the twins and my daughter, 3 in childcare, it was almost another mortgage payment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the situation in this case was that this particular teacher had the opportunity to get a job in the town that she resided in, and therefore her child could go to that particular school free, right, to preschool for free. She chose to stay in Thompson, and we modified that policy, and this is the year that she is requesting that. So I know that I can't make that decision without board approval.
Is the child age
Yes.
eligible?
Potty trained and all the requirements are met, unlike the last time we had this brought to us, there was other circumstances. Where are we at with this?
I believe so. I didn't ask her that question.
Yeah, I'm only out because I know the last time we had, there was other circumstances where the child might not have been prepared. Or should have been at that
I
level.
would imagine the child's got to meet the criteria to get into the preschool program.
What happens if once the child's here, we identify that the child needs an IEP or something?
So if you go back to the policy, then that child cannot stay here. They have to go to their home school. That was written in the policy.
And or that school has to pay. And what
Or
happens
that school would pay the differential.
when the child is going to be kindergarten age? Is she going to want the child to still be here?
Correct.
And
Goes through the system.
At that point, will the town pay?
No.
When it's 16,000 a year or whatever it is.
Then it's getting very, very expensive.
Yeah, now
And I
it's.
think we're setting up, after working hard to get it out of the contract, we're setting a precedent now where we're allowing it again. And it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And in a tough budget year, it's a public relations nightmare.
Well, after preschool, the child's gonna go into kindergarten. Whether it's half-day program, full-day program, whatever, I mean, but the tuition of a student is 16,000 is,
12 and change.
12, 11, 12.
That- okay, after reimbursements.
Well, that's what, we have a formula that we apply to the tuition amount every year in case somebody does want to pay tuition
Yeah.
come into the district. Right now, I don't believe we have anybody paying that.
The student would be at that point not next year, but the year after, we'd
Correct.
be.
I honestly would love to do it for her because she gave up working in her town to stay here to help us. But we're opening up Pandora's box, I'm sorry. Because what if another teacher says, okay, I live over here, but I want my child to come here. How do we say no to them if we say yes to her? You don't.
I don't,
That's
I don't agree with that. It's hard enough for us to find teachers that's there.
Yeah, I agree 100%, but yeah, we're gonna set precedent. That's the problem.
And I don't see a lot of teachers taking advantage of that. That it's gonna cost us any more money. I mean, really, we need students in this school. I don't see that, you've got economies of scale working here too.
So I have another question coming down to the expense of this. So setting aside the preschool, because that's, $300 a month and there's subsidies, I would imagine for that. Once you start entering kindergarten and then elementary school, the tuition is marked at $12,000 a year, but a kid in the classroom, so if we have got a classroom with 22 students and we add a 23rd, does that translate to a cost to the district as long as they don't have any special education requirements? That's just I'm trying to wrap my head around
We
that.
have to get state aid for the student because they're part of our enrollment.
Yeah,
So there's that. Basically, it depends, right? It depends if the student needed reading services, well, those aren't special education services, right? If the student needed ELL, but we had, I think in the policy that you approved, it went on that any of the extra costs, the child either went back to their home school or the sending district had to pay for those. This was, it was brought before you at the beginning of the school year as a recruitment measure.
right, I remember that.
And a benefit. At that time, the board approved that idea, except that I would have to come back and speak to the board every time I got an application. So I did get an application and that's why I'm here.
Right, and I remember that from back in the beginning of the year.
This could happen once in 10 years, or it could happen 20 times next year. What are we gonna do? It's. I just don't like it.
I'm afraid when the people in town hear this, they're not going to be happy.
No,
I'm
No,
really,
I agree.
really,
I agree.
they're gonna say they're letting in kids from other towns and, no, I can see it already in the newspaper and on Facebook.
It's
Two
fine.
questions. Does this have to be approved tonight? And then the second question is, do we have any guidance from the board's attorney on this?
Well, that's a good point. Let's table this for now and then look into what other districts do. I agree with that. That's a good idea.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
How long has this particular teacher been with the district?
No, that would be.
For quite a while.
Quite a while.
Mhm. I do know, I know she's on. So she's listening. I know that she may have an opportunity to go to another district, as many will. I think she needs an answer from us probably sooner than
rather
later.
than later.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case, but I'd like to do a little answer to a couple of Toms. What do the other districts do? I know her district, where she lives does.
I know Griswold does. I think Betty Oscar had told me that was, some districts that she works with do offer that. We can do a poll in the area. I don't think there's any that are close to us that allow that.
Yeah, I'd just like to see from Steven Sador if we have any, what conflicts there are with the teachers' union. Or any issues long-term, because this could get very costly. after preschool. Preschool is just the preamble to if the child stays in our school system for 12 years. You're talking 144,000 at 12.
One kid in a classroom in the first grade. I don't think we incur any costs.
I wouldn't say
Putting
that.
20
It would
kids,
be little to nothing if you're just putting one child in,
Okay.
absolutely,
right,
and I agree with that.
Understood,
But
but
next year, what if 25 teachers request it? And
there's
and
still a
then,
per,
then the cost, they will add up.
but there's still a per pupil cost.
But getting back to, we worked so hard to get this out of the contract, and I agree,
I
it's a
agree.
recruiting thing, but.
But-
That's why we got it out.
but you're not gonna put 25 kids in one class.
No, I get it, Catherine, I get it. It's,
Okay, all right, well, we don't need to, beat a dead horse here. Let's move on and answer a couple of these questions, and if need be, we'll have a special meeting, a quick special meeting. I don't want to lose a teacher who's been with us for a long time over this. So we have 3 questions to answer. What?
No, I just want to make sure that if we did this, there's no recourse from any other person that had to endure the cost, is
Okay.
what I'm asking.
That, what do other districts in our current area do, and how long is she getting?
One last question.
Yes.
Do we have a history of this in the recent past? I know we just approved this policy this school year. And Bill was saying it came out of the teacher's contract. That's before my time here. Was there a history of this happening more than once a year, or more than once a decade, or?
I'm sure it happened a few times, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you if
I
it was
don't
1 or
think
30
it's that
over the last 20 years.
Okay, that's what I'm curious.
I don't think it's that great one either. Okay. We are now ready for the curriculum leader update.
So you know that Laura Stefanski is our ELA curriculum leader. Patty Chenille is our mathematics curriculum leader. And Lucy Trudeau is our science curriculum leader, and she works closely with Lena Canoia at the elementary school. So they've been really busy this school year, doing a lot of great work that has a direct impact on our student achievement. And so I asked them, remember at the beginning of the year, they set their goals for the year. Well, they're back now to tell you how they did. And you'll be pleased to hear the work that they've done in the district.
Hello. I have a few slides for you, kind of illuminate what we're going to talk about here. And just kind of give you a general update of the progress we've made this year and a little bit of looking forward to next year. So I don't know. So for the Tornillo Memorial High School, all students are required to take 4 years of English. Our 4-year English program is designed to provide students with reading, writing, and oral skills to encourage responsible social interaction, enhance the learning process, and generate enthusiasm for the power of language, particularly imaginative language. One of our main goals through this curriculum process is to emphasize skills for college readiness and advanced courses. In order to prepare students for their role in a diverse society, the literature encompasses texts from a multitude of cultures. The 9 through 12 ELA curriculum documents are in the revision cycle this year. We do not have finished products to publish today, but we are on track in English Language Arts to have the first draft documents for each grade level completed this year, and to move into the next phase of the revision cycle for the 23-24 school year, which would be implementation year 1. In grades 1 through 8, we are in implementation year 1. Our goals centered around providing high quality instruction designed to engage students at deeper level learning, to create a focused direction and help teachers make connections across grade levels. A scope and sequence at every grade level that is aligned to rigorous state standards. I met regularly throughout the year with the grade level teams to review each unit, discussing the resources we have, how our students are responding to them. Does the scope cover everything our students need to succeed, and is the sequence appropriate? We were able to conduct walkthroughs to see how the kids were responding to the curriculum and plan out and even in some cases provide professional development based on what we were seeing and the feedback that we received. In kindergarten this year, the focus was centered around the district's NIAC accreditation. And they have an established curriculum aligned with their tools of the mind resource. The curriculum council is meeting next week to review the curriculum revision cycle. And I believe they will be slated to enter the revision cycle in the 2023-24 school year. And I have met with a few of the kindergarten teachers and they're pretty excited to jump into the process and make a bunch of changes based on all of the science of reading research that's coming out. For writing, early on, we identified the need to make writing instruction a priority in grades K-8. It is important for students to receive quality writing instruction because it is a skill they will need to develop to become successful in post-secondary schools and beyond. In TMS, the focus was on aligning our expectations and practices, using common strategies and vocabulary, not just from grade level to grade level, but across content areas. One way in which we have done this is through the development of aligned writing rubrics. They were developed with our ELA and social studies teachers for the 3 main types of writing students are expected to learn and developed outlined in the state standards. For the Think SRSD writing grants, we were placed in cohort 2. And that meant that our first year this year was focused on data collection. There were a series of activities that were required for this grant opportunity. We had to collect samples of student writing, administer student surveys about writing. Teachers were asked to complete surveys and some were chosen to even video record their writing lessons. Next year, our teachers in grades K-6 will receive the SRSD training. This includes 8 hours of core training that they will learn the SRSD strategies, regular in-district mentoring support throughout the 23-24 school year, and even some deep dive professional development on the components of the strategies based on the needs of the specific teachers. So pretty excited about that. The self-regulated strategy development is both a set of student strategies and a method for delivering instruction for teachers that develop student ownership and confidence and allows them to take responsibility for their own learning. It is a structured yet flexible approach that teachers can use with their current English language arts curriculum. So it's not like one more piece, which I think is really nice. And a lot of the teachers were very excited about that. It's not like another whole program or direction that we're moving in. It's a writing approach that they're going to be able to weave right into the curriculum that they've been working so hard on. For the Wonders 2020 updates, when the Connecticut legislature passed the right to read legislation, it required that the state oversee all state and local efforts related to literacy, including setting reading curriculum requirements for districts. We were fortunate because our reading curriculum program was on the list, but to comply, we needed to update to the 2020 edition. We have spent the last 6 months reviewing the 2020 edition and working with the rep from McGraw-Hill to complete this task. The elementary teachers have done an incredible job breaking down the components and identifying our priorities, which allowed me to hone in on the needs and save the district more than $100,000. The new materials have arrived and they are in the hands of our teachers. The online teacher workspaces are currently available to teachers for those who are interested in piloting pieces this year, and some of them already have been doing. The proposal included a professional development package that will help support our teachers as we roll out the 2020 edition for the next school year. And I've received a lot of positive responses from the elementary staff, and they're very excited to implement it next year. So, final remarks, we have made great progress this year and are planning to advance through the curriculum revision cycle at all levels next year, as well as provide the professional development and support that our teachers need to implement the self-regulated strategy development approach and with writing in general. Thank you very much.
It was a challenge for me this year to be working on science curriculum because I was back in the classroom whole time. So in one sense, it was very difficult. The other sense, I could see things from a whole different perspective. So that was very helpful when teachers came to me and said this wasn't working. And I could say, oh yeah, it wasn't working for me either. So as we go through our revision cycle, it's going to be easier for me to say, yeah, you're right. You know, sometimes you want to fight with them and say, no, that's, yeah.
but it's gonna be easier for me. On the downside, it was difficult because we don't have a lot of people, Tim and Becky were wonderful with providing me with support when I needed to be just doing curriculum. And so that being said, I think we've gotten a lot done with science with me not doing it full time. So my goal for the year was to have the entire district use interactive science notebooks and a common lab report template. And so we have that K-9 right now. So that's pretty exciting. And Lena will talk all about elementary in a little bit, and that's just phenomenal. We have 2 science teachers in the district. Jen Brennan started in August and Matt started in December, and I've been working very closely with them. They're using all the right tools. They're using interactive science notebooks. They're teaching with NGSS style. They're using important test questions that are formatted that way. And they're all using a common lab report format, which it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is because we're really trying to incorporate a lot of ELA standards into science. And the only way to do that is to do it the same way from kindergarten all the way through. Jen has become very familiar with the FOSS kits and the FOSS curriculum. She's using all of those resources. Matt is designing a couple new classes for next year and is running his botany class in the hydroponics room, which is really exciting. And we meet weekly for him to run ideas off us. He's young, he's great, he's got a lot of energy, but he doesn't have we don't have a curriculum per se up there right now. So he's doing a lot of research on his own, so that's great. As I said before, elementary is taking off. All students have science once a week, and so Lena will be presenting all those details, but for some of the high points, we are looking at changing some of how she's doing things next year. And because there's just not enough time. So we're changing the sequencing, so it makes more sense and flows better from grade to grade to grade for her, so it's really exciting. And next year, we're hoping to change it, so it says science on the report card.
Well, it does say science.
Well, but it isn't considered the kids. So the kids look at it as another class. They're not going to unified art, but they're going to science, so that's kind of exciting for us. We have 2 curriculums complete in the high school, so that's really very exciting. And I'm working with the high school teachers to try to get the rest going, because that's kind of important, because they're going to be accredited very soon, and so we need to have those in place. And again, they teach a lot of different classes, so it's hard for them to get them done. They might be teaching 3 science classes, so to ask them to do 3 curriculums, it just can't be done. So, like I mentioned before, the major accomplishment was the interactive science notebook. For those of you that don't have to say, what is this? It's like a file cabinet. So everything that's taught and said and investigated goes in there. They use that information to pull from to write a report. So it's like a big, huge outline. And they take all of that and they are able to put it into a format where somebody else could read it. So I could give that to Deb and a lab report written from that, and she would understand it. Because they took it sequentially and they wrote it like someone who doesn't understand it is reading it. I used to use Patty all the time for my So, and our lab report template it's beautiful, it's progressive. Again, it makes the kids do a lot of critical thinking, and it makes them really hone in on their writing skills, because they really don't understand that something you learn in ELA has to be used in science too. So, yeah. Another exciting thing is high school is going to be exploring a new curriculum in May offered by East Bay, which is where we get our kits. It's being presented by a company called Lab Aids, and they provide similar things to what FOSS does, and they have resources available and like a curriculum they can go by, which will be easier for the teachers. They're not hunting for supplies, they're not hunting for an investigation. So just to kind of get us jump started going into a deeper dive type of curriculum, it would be a wonderful thing. My hope is we're going to be able to pilot some of that stuff. I've been working with them, and so that's in the works. We'll see.
Like Laura said, our curriculums are being evaluated, revisions are gonna be made. So, you know, once you're into it, you're hoping that it's gonna work, sometimes it doesn't. But, the other thing that's very exciting is I've been working with Alicia Dodson, who is our IT person, and Genevieve Rabro, who's our art person, and we've been doing a lot of, they're called STEAM activities. So they'll take something that, say, I couldn't deep dive into, and they'll explore it. One example is Alicia's doing helmets. She's gonna make helmets instead of egg drops, you know, she's making helmets, you're protecting your head, there's gonna be an egg in it. Genevieve is going to do painting, and explore forces in motion. But it gets the kids excited and understand that it's science just isn't in science class. So next year, we hope to do some more of that. And Alicia's actually doing something for 7th grade right now as well. So that's pretty exciting. So that's been my year so far. But I want to thank you for the opportunity. I have to say I miss working with them because we bounced a lot of ideas off of each other a lot. But it really, I think, improved my teaching tremendously to go through this process. So, thank you for the opportunity. Is it what slides up there next? I think it's gonna be. Yeah, so Lena, page 2.
So there's going to be quite a few slides, but this is my baby. This is the first year of developing this program. I've taught kindergarten right through 4th grade. So this is kind of an overview of what went on in kindergarten. All of my groups started out with like using science tools, learning about them because they haven't been in like a science room type of setting. They've all explored the scientific process at levels that they're able to understand. The core curriculum for kindergarten was all about trees and leaves. Then we did all about pumpkins, and that was where they learned the parts of the pumpkin, studied the life cycle. I brought real pumpkins in, they dug right in. Then they focused on all about weather, and they learned about the different types of precipitation. They learned about clouds, what happens within a cloud. And if you look to the right, that sample lab report, that was an activity where they filled, the jar was filled with water with shaving cream, and then they had to drop the raindrops into the cloud with the blue food color water. And what happened was basically once the cloud got full, then it rained. All right, that was their level. Then we charted weather from the beginning of January till the first week in March, mainly so that every student would have an opportunity to chart the weather on the board, because at that age, everyone needs a turn. And then after that, we graphed it. They did an activity all about ramps. They did a little bit of studying on that. So they learned about, oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. They learned about acceleration, gravity, and, you know, the height of the ramp, how it made a difference. They did a little activities on trash and recycling, looking at what the pollution was, and how to clean up areas. I actually brought tanks in and put dirt in, and I washed trash to put in there because I couldn't give them dirty trash. And they pulled the trash out of the water and the dirt, had all with that. And then my last one is they're now all about pet fish. They're learning about fish, learning the structures of the fish. We actually have fish in the classroom. They're learning how to feed the fish and, you know, what the different parts of the fish do. That was kindergarten. All right, so they did the lab reports, and that's some of their activities when they were doing the cloud thing. We made wind socks when we were studying weather, went outside to test wind direction. The beginning of the year, we had to do trees, and the week, which, you know, the week that we were supposed to start, it rained, so it was gonna rain all week. So I went on my property and dug up saplings and just brought the trees to my classroom so they could do it. So you can see them there with their magnifying glasses. And then for the fall, we made a bulletin board tree, and all the students made a leaf and put it on it. So that was the year in kindergarten. And grade 1, again, same thing. We started out with science tools. We really worked on keeping a notebook. That was the first year that we focused on that. They did do experiments, and they did complete their first official lab report towards the end of the year. Their overall concepts, they learned about sound and light, making and hearing sounds, light and shadows, light materials. And then with their plants, they grew grass and grain seeds. The grain seeds were grown in water. They grew new plants from stems, so we cut up a plant, then they sprouted the stems in the water, and then they took those plants and planted them all in their terrariums. There were supposed to be little critters in there, but the company that we get them through Foss, they were DOA. So, we had plants. They did not even make the trip here. All right, so that's an example of their student notebooks, so you can see that much of the writing I did, and then they would just fill in, but they drew the diagrams, we worked on labeling. And then on the right was the lab report that they just did. This one was, I'm trying to remember what theirs was. I can't see it from that far away. I think theirs was when they,
The lift itself.
oh, the lift, okay, so they had to basically see, they basically had to take it, put a straw under a book and see if the air pressure could lift it, compressed air. And then they took and put a baggie, the straw in the baggie under the book. And then see if they could lift the book with the compressed air, which of course they could. But it was just getting them to understand that, there is a scientific question. They had to make a hypothesis about whether it was going to work or not. And then they had to record their results and their observations. Very, very basic, but when you see all of the other lab reports, you're going to see that they build on each other. So, and again, this is first grade. And then their activities, they're growing their grass, they're graphing, their drawings. And then when they were doing the sound, they learned 3 ways to make sound by plucking, dropping, or striking using tuning forks, which was their favorite. All right, so grade 2, again, I'm not gonna read the same basic things. Their curriculum this year was they had to learn about solid objects, materials, and properties, and understand the difference between material and the properties. Then they learned about the types of liquids, the properties of liquids, and changing properties, going from solid to liquid, and gas, and specifically focusing on water. Their favorite probably was when they had the mealworms. So the mealworm for the class, and they observed the whole life cycle going from the mealworm to the pupid stage to the darkling beetles. Then they did the plant section. They grew brassica plants, and with those, they grew them, and then they harvested the seeds from them, and then we replanted the seeds so they could watch the cycle again. So, and then they did a little bit with animal habitats and animal adaptation, and you'll see one of their things later on that they did. All right, so that was a sample of their notebook where they had to draw their mealworm and label it, and then they made their little observations about it. And then their lab report was understanding air pressure, and it was take a cup and replace the air in the cup with water, flip it over, and the air pressure is greater, so the card's gonna stay on it. Okay, they had a ball with that, it made a mess. But they, again, the scientific process, having the question, making their hypothesis, reporting the results, and you can see the stretch at the bottom is where now I want them to start thinking about why, were they surprised? What surprised them about it? So we're working our way into drawing conclusions. And that's them with their mealworms. Okay, well. Then grade 3, their basic things that they had was they had to do a seed search, which was opening different fruits and finding the seeds in them. And we did activities like looking at, okay, how many seeds do you expect to find in an apple? How many would you expect to find in a pepper? Then they did seed sprouting, where they took these seeds and sprouted them in water. And then once they sprouted, we put them into hydroponic bins, and they actually grew the beans. We would never be able to feed the class on what we harvested, but we were able to harvest them. And then we broke them apart so they could see that, okay, this is the seed we started with and how that cycle continues. Then we looked at the human body. learned a little bit about that. They did some research online about the skeletal system. And then we did an owl pellet dissection, which Melinda just loved walking it on. And they had a ball with that, pulling the owl pellets apart. And then what they did was they compared the skeleton of the owls to the skeleton of humans, to see, you know, how many bones are similar. And pretty much almost all of them except for the tail. And then now they're working on magnets and magnetic forces and gravitational forces and understanding where magnetic forces end and gravitation takes over. So that first one, layering liquids, was one that we did in the beginning of the year, just to kind of get them, when I was teaching the scientific process, what it looks like. It's a very basic density experiment, but they love it because it's instantaneous. You can see the results. The serum's always on the bottom, the water's always in the middle, oil's always on top. The lab report on the right is the one that they're working on now. That's why there's nothing there yet, because I haven't finished it. So is their magnetism. And if you look at it, the process is, you know, they're gonna be charting on there. And then in the end, they're gonna have to write a 1-paragraph conclusion after they gather all their data and do the experiment. They'll write the conclusion, and you'll see it better in the 4th grade one, because I have a 4th grade that's completed. So again, those are their notebooks. You can see the expectations of their notebooks increase as, you know, grade level increases. The picture on the left, what it was when they dissected the owl pellets. If they found that bone, they colored the diagram. Okay, and then when they did the magnets, those were a magnetic activity that they did. They wrote all of their observations. When they were doing a seed study, the one on the bottom right was their seed study. They drew their they drew their fruit in the seeds, how many seeds they found, and gave descriptions of it. And then at the top left was just an example of how they answer specific focus questions in their notebook. And that's them with their owl pellets and doing their research. And the top middle one is their seed study. All right, grade 4, excuse me. We did soil, rocks, and landforms was their major curriculum. They did research soil composition, looked at, you know, how much soil would absorb. They did physical and chemical weathering. The physical weathering was using rock tumbling to break rock down, different types of rock, and see which broke down more. The chemical was putting those same types of rocks in vinegar and letting them set for a period of time and watching what happened to the rock. They did a stream bed table to model weathering, erosion, and deposition, and reported the results of that, and learned a little bit about what some of our natural resources are. And right now we're working on energy. They're had to build circuits, and I started out by handing them a battery, a light bulb, and 2 wires, and said, light it up. Okay, and yeah, they do it. It's amazing. They just do it. They love it. It's a challenge. And then they were given a circuit board, and then they had to put the circuit board together and make it work, light up. And then they're given conductors and insulating materials, and they have to predict what materials will complete the circuit, what ones won't, and then test them. And we'll end doing a little bit with magnets, sorry. Then those are our student notebooks for there. The first picture was when they did the soil testing. And then the second picture was when they were comparing 2 different types of rocks. And then the last one is their note when they were building circuits and testing them to see which ones they had to predict which circuits would work. And then they had to build them exactly the same. And that was the key, getting them to build it exactly the same to find out if it worked or not. And then this is the 4th grade lab report. Okay, so again, the whole process is the same format, but they had to answer the questions much more specifically. And then in the end, they had to write an entire paragraph summary to explain the overview of their experiment, you know, answer restate the question. And it's the same writing format that's used throughout the elementary. Okay, so you restate the question, you answer the question, you cite your details, and like I explained to them, it's the only difference is you're not getting it from a book, you're getting it from the experiment that you just did. and then they have to sum it up. And that was my fourth grade, that was their stream bed table. The middle bottom one is the rock tumbling, and then the other two were just soil, them testing soil. And then this was one of my second grade activities, they had to camouflage. So they picked an animal out of the bag and then they picked a piece of paper and, some of them, it's hanging up in the hallway in our wing, but some of them are so well hidden that you really can't see them. They did a really good job. That was my second graders. All right, so for next year, the improvements, I did, as Lucy talked about, I did revise some of the curriculum. And I forgot to change something on there. So, some more topics from K to 4. Content in all areas. I really tried to make sure that there was a lot of, that they're getting exposure in earth, life, and physical sciences, because it tended to be really heavy in the life sciences this year. I mean the earth sciences, and I want a more balance. And primarily you'll see the biggest changes in the kindergarten, because the FOSS kids are great. I love them because they do have all the resources. But if you pull the kids apart, K1 and 2 are built at the same level. Well, kindergartners can't write and they're expecting them to keep a notebook. And there wasn't a lot of material in the trees and weather kit. They were like, do we have to look at leaves again? Their attention span is about this big. You can present the same topic for probably 2 weeks, 3 at the most, and then they're ready to move on to something else. So I went through curriculum and I looked at what I could pull in that I can get the most out of them, but have them enjoy and have them be ready to move on and target as many areas in earth, life, and physical science. There's less overlap with the way I restructured, because this year, first grade did plants, second grade did plants, third grade did plants. Okay, so to me, I only get them once a week. That's too much overlap when there's so many things in science that they could be learning about. So I want to spread it out and make sure, because once they leave me, they only have 1 year at middle school before they have to take that state test. So I want to make sure they have a well-rounded overview of science. And it allows me to, I'll skip to quad 1. I'm going to be sharing kits, because that's the other factor is, yes, I on paper have 45 minutes a week. Well, if there's an assembly, most of the time that assembly happens during specialist classes, so I lose that group. All right, well, that's okay in the normal thing, but if it's that week, that's like a week's worth of instruction that I'm losing. So it's hard to come back to. I would also like to be able to cover some of the stuff in the kids, especially like the third grade. I would have liked to been able to cover the human body a little bit more, because I think it's important, and there wasn't enough time. So what I'm doing is I'm going to split a couple of the kids, and I'll show you later on. So 2 things, I went from, I think it was 14, was it 15 kids down to like 10 or 12. I cut out 4 kids this year. So it's going to save the district quite a bit of money. And I'm going to be able to utilize what's in the kids much more. Okay, so that was part of that. So if you want to, all right, so this is what the kindergarten curriculum will look like for next year. So it's a variety of resources, teacher, and other resources that I pulled together. And on the side of it, I put that, so there's a lot of life science, there's earth and space science, and in the kindergarten curriculum. And then I would use the very last one, May, June, I will use that kit that we used this year for the pet fish. I'm only going to cover investigation 1 with them, but grade 1 will use the rest of the kit. So there's 4 investigations in each kit. So that kit will be used between kindergarten and first grade. All right, grade 1. So they'll do sound and light again. And then they'll do the animals 2 by 2, and they'll cover investigations 2, 3, and 4. And then I'll supplement about all about shells and kind of just make it a little bit more interactive. And they like to have things to take home as well, so I try to keep that balance in there because they're little and they want to have fun with it. All right, and then grade 2, they're gonna do solids and liquids again this year, having a ball with that. And then this, what I'm doing is the structures of life kit. This is the one where there's a lot of planting in. So they're going to use that kit. They're gonna do investigation 1 and 2. And then I'm gonna supplement and use some growing bulbs and spuds from other resources that I have. So they'll be doing a lot of growing the second half of the year. And my hope is PTO was so nice to donated money, so I did get a greenhouse, so we're gonna start like a portable greenhouse, we're gonna start that early. And I did get a hydroponic thing, rack, so that when we start growing things, I don't have to turn the stuff in and like, all right, what do I do with these now? If they plant beans and they're growing, I want to let them keep growing and maybe we can harvest more than 5. That's my hope. All right, 4th grade. Yeah. Is that it? Oh, there. Oh my God, it's even looking. Sorry. All right, 4th grade honestly is staying pretty much the same. Both of those kids were great, and I won't have to spend the time on like going over the scientific process and a lot of those skills that I had to start with this year because they've already had it. So I can dive with them, I can dive right into that fall kit, and then I'll be able to get a lot more accomplished this year. Cause a couple things, I know the kit, I know the materials, I had to learn, there was only 1 kit on this entire list that I used before this year. So every kit that they had to learn, I had to learn it first to make sure. So I looked at what I've done and what I can change and how I can do it differently next year to maximize it and get more out of it. So it's not only about what I'm doing for them, it's about what I need to be doing to maximize the use of the resources I have and the time that I have. So that's the plan for that. And then I think there's this. Then my additional, I'm always looking at our schedule to see if there's a way that I can get more science in. I haven't figured it out yet, but I would love to be able to sit there more than 1 time a week. All right, that's it.
Lena, I need to say that that is quite impressive. I'm sure the board knows that the implementation of science over the years has been spotty at best, depending upon whether a certain grade level got to it or not. And last year when we made that change and we put Lena in as a class that students went to every week, you can see the progression. After grade 4, they'll go to grade 5 with all that science foundation. It'll be so much easier when they pick up in middle school. It'll take us a few years to see that in the results of our test scores. However, you can see that there's a plan, and I know that there was a ton of work that went in, that was involved in all of that. So thank you both.
Well, the last thing I do want to say in regards to the test scores as well. With the science kits at the end of each investigation, there is what they call an eye check test. These tests are based on this, they're the same types of questions that are going to be on that state test in 5th grade. My 1st graders have started taking these tests. So we take them after each investigation, we take the test, we read it together, we do it together. Then I usually, after we do it together, then I'll turn around and I'll have them go sit and do it with them by themselves. And sometimes I still read the question to them, but I have them try it on their own. When we get to the upper grades, they do it as a test. Sometimes if they've just done a big lab and done that whole lab report that you saw, I'll do it like grapple questions. I'll take the questions and separate them out and give them each, different questions. And then that way they have exposure to the types of questions. They're problem solving with each other to figure out, okay, what is this question asking? What do I need to answer? What information do I know? What information don't I know? And then how can we come up with the information? And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go from that group to another group and they'll talk about it. So I'm really trying to expose them to the types of questions that they're going to see on that state test in 5th grade.
It's a shame, there's a lot of naysayers in town that say, what goes on up here at the Hill. And if they were here tonight to hear exactly what you're all talking about, I would hope and think that they would have a different outlook on what's being taught at our school. Just on the science side, the English side, and I'm sure we're gonna hear about mathematics, but recycling, seed, population, skeletal, you name it. I just wish more of the naysayers would actually show up instead of just being Facebook trolls and commenting, faceless and, unfactual truth. But thank you. I wish there was one other thing on the science side, and I just found this out recently, and I've lived here all my life. In Wilsonville, we drive by this almost every day. If you go on the on-ramp from Wilsonville Road onto the highway, there's two continental shelves that collided.
Yep.
It's a fault line,
Yep,
right?
it is a fault
Used to
line.
be Africa.
Yeah, it used to be Africa. And I never knew this, but I mean, I wish that there was a way that we can incorporate this into, there's geologists from around the world that come here to see this in Wilsonville, Connecticut.
Well, actually, that's one of the intentions for next year, because when I got to the kit, I didn't get as far as plate tectonics this year. And that's my goal for next year, is really to kind of fine tune and fish out what I need to do, but I really want to get into the plate tectonics. And that's one of the pieces. I think they should know that there are fault lines around
Right here.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's a safe place for a field trip because of the location, but it was a shame, right?
You can drive and take video.
You know that Africa was right here, you know what I'm saying? It was pretty cool. So anyways, sorry.
I appreciate your feedback too, because we are more than pretty faces in the classroom, just so everybody knows. We actually do work really hard. Let's start with the high school curriculum. In mathematics, the high school now has 8 published curriculums on the district website. There are 5 high school math courses that have been completed: consumer math, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry essentials, and the full year geometry course. We've also completed 3 computer science courses, and they are posted on the district website as well. In addition, the last thing about high school, we have worked really hard, and next year we will be finally sequencing our high school math courses the way that they should be. So we will be teaching algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. Currently it is algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry. I don't know how or why we got away from that a long time ago, but we are setting the record straight. We're getting the courses set straight. We want to set our kids up for success with SATs, and the skills that they really need are those algebra 2 and pre-calc and trig type skills. So getting those to be right before they take those SATs will make them more successful. So that will be going into effect in the fall. Curriculum review for K through 8. Well, we finished, and the K curriculum is also posted online. All teachers K through 5 are following the Bridges in Mathematics program, and they are following it with fidelity. One of the things that I have been doing with the K through 5, the Bridges teachers, we're using the canned or the assessments that come as part of that program. But what we have started doing is, I'm going to ask you to jump one slide ahead first. So at the end of each unit, I have prepared and created some data that I meet with each of the teams, and across the top, you're going to see each of the questions that was asked of the students. So if you look down the columns, green means that the students got those questions correct. Yellow means that they're really close. Red is not good. That means they totally missed the mark. So we're able to look at every question that's on an assessment, and we have this visual that we go through, and then we go across to look at by student. So if you look at this particular assessment, and one more page, Danielle, I calculate, I did some formulas and calculated so I can see like what percentage of that grade, how did they answer? What percentage of the students mastered each of the questions that were on the assessments? When we meet, if we see that the percentage of students that mastered
is lower than 70%. We take a deeper dive into those questions and we're saying, okay, what happened? In most of the cases, we're finding that the questions that are on the canned assessments are not really for mastery. They are either during as an introductory or as a review, not a review, sorry, introductory, or that they're in the process of being mastered. So one of the goals that I have for next year is to actually really hone in on those assessments and break them apart and only assess the children on what is expected for mastery. They want to achieve success as well. On this particular assessment, that very last question, the way that the question was worded, was outside of the standard, the math standard for that grade. So we have changed the wording. The teachers are humoring me and they are doing some additional instruction, and that same question is going to be put on the next assessment. So we will reassess that question, just to give you a kind of an idea. All right, I'm gonna go back. I already said all that, so we'll go back. Additionally, about implementation. Because of that whole data piece, the teams said, can we meet with you a little bit more often? So it's in grades 1 through 4, instead of only meeting with them at the end of a unit, I'm meeting with them at the middle of a unit so that we can kind of get a preview onto the assessment to make sure that the lessons that they have planned are going to be, putting their students in a successful light by the end of that assessment. So I'm meeting with them twice during the course of a unit. The next piece, instructional coaching. We have worked with Betty Osga from the, I was gonna say Center for School Change, but it's not that. It's educational leaders in educational partnership or something along that line, to help her to develop look-fors so that for the administrators, so that when they go in and they observe lessons, they know what to be looking for in terms of the particular content that they're looking at. During the month of October, I assessed a lot of first graders. These were kids that were seen by their classroom teachers as maybe being a little bit behind their peers. I met with the team and discussed the results of all of those assessments that I did. Due to the many other pieces of the job, I picked up 2 students that I did one-on-one interventions with 5 days a week, 30 minutes every single day, very targeted instruction. In December, early December, I picked up a 3rd student. 2 of the 3 were brought to grade level by the end, the interventions finished. But it's a very intensive process. It is one-on-one. I videotape every one of those lessons. I go back and I watch that lesson and I look for how the children did the work that I was doing with them and created my lesson plan for the next day. So it's very responsive and very intensive. With the presence that I've had in the elementary school, I've gotten very involved in their RTI process. So I am using the skills that I've become certified in and providing those assessments and providing that feedback to the RTI teams. I've gone in and modeled lessons for classroom teachers. I've been going in and doing some activities with small groups. And very often when the elementary teachers seek me out, I provide some strategies and some tools for them to use with their students that are struggling. I did complete my certification work. I'm now considered a math champion, which means that I am certified to teach our staff how to assess and remediate students that are struggling, first in early numeracy, addition and subtraction, and then also for multiplication, division, and place value. I did hold 1 training session so far this school year. We got really creative with sub-crisis. I was able to certify 5 teachers in the first level, the early numeracy. Superintendent Smith has given permission. I'm also going to offer those courses over the summer. So any of the teachers that want to become certified to be able to do these interventions within their classroom will have an opportunity to attend that training. Connecticut State Department of Education. I was asked to participate, the state of Connecticut asked if I would participate in statewide curriculum model curriculum for kindergarten through grade 2. And then I was appointed as the lead person for the kindergarten curriculum for the state of Connecticut. So we have just finished writing all of the model curriculum for the state, and it will be posted on the state's website very soon. Resources for teachers, we started last year doing a resource room for the middle school teachers with a plethora of resources in each of the content areas. Laura and I have gotten into the elementary school this year, and there was materials from people that I've been here 23 years, and there were names that I had no idea who these people were, but I think when they left, retired or whatever, they just left all their belongings and everything was just shoved into one room. So we have gone through all of that. We have discarded anything that was not remotely usable, and we have it in sections, but it's not quite organized yet, but we are promising that we will get that resource room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy. Yeah, one of the things that I've been working on also, in my final remarks, one of the things, being an Alliance district, the three of us are very much involved when the State Department comes in to do their monitoring meetings. So providing a lot of data for the state, letting them know where we are, how things are improving. In addition to that, one of the things that they want to see, our students that are in grades 2 through, I don't know if it's 2 through 11, or it's definitely 2 through 8 and grade 11, do the NWEA math assessment, and it monitors student growth. We do not have any kind of a universal screener for our kindergarten and first grade. I have found a program. It is free. It is incredible. So I will be rolling that out next year to our kindergarten and first grade teachers. Again, focusing on the common sense assessments and really focusing on what's expected for mastery. We are also looking right now, our elementary school does a great job at for personal literacy plans for each of our students. We have the opportunity, the state is rolling out a program called MTSS, which stands for multi-tiered systems of support. And one of my goals is to have a math profile also put into that system for every one of our students, so that when they go from grade to grade, teachers will be able to see, get a full picture of the students in front of them. And then the other thing that I really want to do next year is I want to push into classrooms and work aside with the, especially the first grade teachers, really trying to push early numeracy and structuring of numbers. So that was the year in a nutshell.
And first of all, I want to thank our curriculum leaders for being here. It was a long presentation, but this is the work we do, right? And this is it. And so they've made some great progress and they've worked very hard. So thank you very much.
Thank you
Just
very
one-
much.
just one thing. So we have a communications committee. And our job, obviously, under the leadership of Heather, is to communicate out to the taxpayers what's going on. How do we, and this is not to minimize anything that you've done, but how do we get a condensed version for each segment that we can put into a communication piece? Because again, there's a lot of naysayers that say what's going on, and this is it.
And it might be like, we have done that did you know, I don't know if you've seen the did you know stuff, but it may be a slide, that we could do per math, science, English, that could just kind of have some stats. Did you know that since we've implemented, this new curriculum, we've seen XYZ, or did you know we offer science now in the elementary school, for K through 4, I just, if there are any kind of little tidbits, it's gotta be something quick and kind of easy, because otherwise people won't read it all, but if you could come up with stuff and feed it to Melinda, then she feeds it to me.
Yeah, I owe you some did you knows.
Yeah,
I just-
but that might be a nice one, because obviously that's been a lot of work,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. What better way if we can communicate it out too?
The Herculean undertaking, that is for sure.
Yeah,
Any specific parameters for it?
No. Yeah, I mean, it really can be, it just has to be a little short something and,
It's kind of like the clip notes.
yeah,
You know?
maybe something you're most proud of or an accolade that's kind of, or something that's kind of popped out as kind of eye-opening. You know, whatever, it really can be whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very enlightening presentation. Okay, next item is the alumni and personnel exemplary service recognition for 2023.
And so the committee met this week or last week, we support blending together. And we are very fortunate that our own Deb Spinelli has been recommended for that award. Mr. John Rice has been also nominated for that award, and Tom Cavalli, a former teacher here, has been a physical education teacher here, has been nominated for that award. So those three people, before the next board meeting in June, will
Speech.
receive their plaque on our hall, near the ballerina wall of fame.
So congratulations to Deb and then the others that have been nominated. You will be immortalized in a plaque on the wall.
1,000-word speech.
That's it, yeah.
Off school grounds,
Anything for you, Deb.
just don't bring any unhealthy food either.
Yeah.
That's the 1,000-word speech, do that.
Yeah, yeah, work on your speech, you know, kind of keep it shorter than you did. All right, now we're moving on to the administrator updates. Dr. Mayo, please.
First, we want to obviously recognize the teachers of the PMHS, teacher appreciation week. All they do for the kids, especially being flexible with 5-day and almost the change this year. I recognize them. Obviously, want to recognize Shannon Brower, who I think is the best nurse. It's this Wednesday, school nurses. I also want to recognize Evan Hands. He's an amazing board liaison, and a remarkable job since his last meeting. As you know, next one's at graduation. He works tremendously hard for the school and community. And I'm personally proud of Evan and all the work that he has put in. Staff remarks that him and I at board meetings like Batman and Robin. I'm always glad to play Robin to have him back. This month we've had several events that we were very proud of. Integrity Plus was an excellent evening, truly a special event for the group. Congrats again to all those who are recognized. The NHS induction ceremony was a nice event. Congratulations to the newest members of NHS. Our music program held their spring concert, a wonderful night of music spearheaded by Mrs. Kate Anderson. Deb Spinelli announced Angela's Pride Group for a cultural release in over 2,000 in this town. 2262 for the fire department. It was a wonderful event. This final month and a half of school, we have sports awards, music awards, scholarship awards night, and our collaboration gala on June 5th. I wanted to take a minute to thank Mr. Herbert and Mr. Galat for being the voice of the students during this time of year. As someone who became an administrative advocate for kids, I appreciate seeing these two men passionately advocate for kids this time. Where I came from, we have a saying, you do not feed starving kids less. I want to leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you. And certainly pass that on to my husband. All right, Ms. Renata.
Good evening, everybody. We've had a busy month in April, so we had, first I want to thank PTO doing an outstanding job. We had fun night out, and the kids, we had about 60 children that participated. They had a blast. We had games, pizza, really a dance. They had it all. They had a nice time. But I do want to say this PTO has just done an outstanding job of coming together, and for people who had no experience too, some of them, and really have done an outstanding job. So all the teachers out there, want to just say thank you so much for their commitment to our school, because they're amazing. And we had also, we had a group of 8th graders that were committed to, going to visit a veteran, who was really amazing, the oldest veteran in Thompson. So that was amazing. So big shout out to our grade 8 students who were part of that. And we have a lot going on in May. So, yeah, a special shout out to the Wax Museum that we had in April, and also the student showcase. That was amazing. So we've had a lot of great things. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Larry on Zoom.
Hi, folks. How are you? Nice to see everybody. Just a shout out again to the PTO. They Booster-thon took place on April 26th. They raised a fair amount of money, the PTO did, for the play set. So really a shout out to those individuals. They always do a great job. Of course, I'm going to also lead with Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Tom, I think you nailed it when you said people really don't have a deep appreciation for what folks do here on a daily basis. Laura, Lucy, Lena, Patty, they did a wonderful job in their presentation, but we got some amazing teachers that are in the trenches that come to work every single day and do an absolutely tremendous job. So really a testament to the curriculum directors and really a testament to the teachers that come to school every single day. So great job. The Mary R. Fisher Elementary School Art Show is going to be taking place on May 18th. Ellen Huey, our new art teacher, has been doing an outstanding job of getting the school ready and getting a bunch of teachers to work with her. So looking forward to that on May 18th. Shout out to the PBIS team. We had a fun Hawaiian day on April 20th. So the PBIS team is always doing a great job. Math lab recently came to a close this year. Thank you to all the teachers that stayed after school and worked with those kids on a daily basis. Once again, just a testament to their professionalism and expertise. I really feel like every student in the elementary school is getting an unbelievable education. That's pretty much it for the elementary school. Just once again, happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Thank you, Larry.
Of course.
Dr. Jones.
Good evening. Okay, so number of students with IEPs right now are 196, but we also have 13 referrals, so that puts us at 209. We have 81 504s, and currently our out-of-district placement is at 24. Of the 24, we have 13 of those students here in the Bradley program. I have 2 minor typos I just want to bring to everyone's attention. I apologize for that in the first narrative. So in terms of the Bradley program, there are 8. We're up to 8 neighboring districts. I had 9. I counted ourselves as one of them, but it's 8. Putnam, Killingly, Brooklyn, Plainfield, Sterling, Stafford, Woodstock, and now Gloucester. Our percentage dropped from 24.63 to 23.29. Again, of the 24 students, 13 are here in the Bradley program, leading 11 to other out-of-district placements. And to educate those students, we are using 5 vehicles to get those students to those placements. With that being said, we offered the first part of a 12-hour training on safety care this past Saturday. The second half will be this upcoming Saturday, so May 6th and May 13th. Our ESY program, again, is running July 5th through August 4th, and that's from 8 to 12. And then again, some of our open positions in terms of special education. We're looking for a district-wide speech and language pathologist. We've been in search of that for quite some time. a special education teacher at the high school. And also one-on-one paraprofessionals in Mary R. Fisher. And also, Mr. Steglitz and I are both working on IDEA grant part B. At this time.
Mr. Steglitz.
Hi, everybody. No change to the revised budget, still at 19.8 billion. Year-to-date spending, and encumbrances are actually tracking right where they were last year. In total, we're just a touch better off, than we were last year. About $30,000 better, actually. We're around $60,000 in the black, whereas at this time last year, we were at about 30,000. We do have a few things in the works in terms of taking a look at open POs and the like, just like we did last year. Keep in mind, these numbers are before the second special ed excess cost payment, so that is still due. We still don't have firm word on how much that will be, although the buzz seems to be a little bit more positive than maybe at our last meeting. But I'll believe it when I see it, frankly. Currently, two departments in deficit, pupil services at 882,000, and it's the typical drivers we talk about every month: tuition, contracted services, and transportation. And the summer program just about $14,000 over due to higher than expected transportation costs. The IDEA work that Dr. Jones and I have been working on has been a thrill ride, but we're getting there. The due date is Thursday, so we drag that across the finish line and put that behind us, so that'll be nice. I don't know if everybody's heard, but there's a vote next Monday. A lot of work's gone into both the town and the school side budget, so be sure to get out there and have your voice heard.
Yes, I second that. And get everybody to turn out, your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, get them all out there. Yes, Tom.
One question, Bill. So right now we're 896,141 over, right? The 882. 141 plus the 14,000 something you had said.
No, those are just those two departments.
All right, those are the
So
two.
in total,
Yeah,
if you were to look at the bottom of the first sheet.
Yeah.
We're about $69,000 to the good. Versus last year, we were about 29,000 to the good. There's a lot of noise that happens at the end of the year between wrapping up open POs, as I mentioned earlier. It just a lot of settling out, and then that second special ed excess cost will also offset some of these expenses. So I'm hopeful that we have a slightly better shot than last year of coming in at the black. But there's a lot of work that goes into the last couple of months of the year, and frankly, into the first month or two of the following year as things really close out.
main driver, like it always is, though, it comes down to reimbursement from special ed
Right.
primarily.
Yep.
And then
That's probably the biggest unknown at the moment.
when do we have to have that number? So, you know, a solid number in case we have to go back to the Board of Finance. When does that all occur?
When the audit's done.
When the audit's done? Okay, all right. Which is November, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I mean, we give them heads up,
Right,
you know, as soon as we pretty much close the books. But if you look at the detail, we have this huge, we have a $410,000 pickup in insurance.
right.
And a lot of the accounts are coming in favorable. But that all comes at the end of the year when we have to do encumbrances, and those are subject to change, but
And I do sound like a broken record on this point. But the Board of Finance has heard me say it over and over again. Both boards actually asked me to tighten up the budgeting on the benefits, so that large $400,000 item that Kathleen just referred to, that cushion won't be there next year in that line.
No.
So we've tried to push that
We tried to budget appropriately. We bumped up contingency on both the BOE side. We also did the same on the town side, but nowhere to the tune of $400,000.
Right.
But Phil, that's a great point though, because I hope everybody understands this on the other side of that microphone, that this is not hidden. This has been discussed, talked about at multiple meetings. So there is nobody hiding any information,
Absolutely not.
but you know, someone's gonna say, well, it was hidden. So let this be known, it's not hidden. Thank you.
From anybody, from the Board of Finance, from the Board of.
All
Select-
boards have heard this
Yes,
multiple times.
that is correct. Okay. DeBerge.
So this time of year, it's all about celebrations, concerts, field days, field trips, and just trying to keep it all together so that they're not overlapped. That's pretty much the focus of what we're doing right now, and so far it's all in line.
Okay.
We are quietly working to finish up the culinary arts space so that that's ready to go in September. And the only other thing is that we did submit the Homeland Security grant application. That if we receive it, it'll come out at about $347,000 back to the town.
That would be great.
But it is a competitive grant and there's no guarantee.
Well, thank you. That would be great if we did get it. Heather? No, okay. Michelle? No. Okay. Shannon, any updates in the allergies department?
Allergies.
The World Health Organization, I'm telling Melinda, decided now that COVID is all done.
Really?
Not a global health emergency. Anyway, we're doing something new this year. We're doing sports physical in May, at the end of May, instead of doing it in the middle of the summer. So it'll cover everybody for the next year to try to capture everybody that's going to play. So we don't have any issues this year. Vision screenings were just done by the Putnam Lions and the Thompson Lions both together. The state mandated A1, 3, 4, 5. And we're doing hearing, we're starting hearing. Sweet. Hearing evaluation.
Kathleen, one thing with the air quality, let's just say with COVID now technically over.
Well,
Bill, right, I know where you're going, I mean, I get it. Bill, are we now, by mandate of the state or fed, do we have to reduce the air content that comes in
Oh,
back to normal standards?
you never have to reduce it.
Interesting,
They'll make things easier, only harder.
all right.
You never have to reduce it, and technically, they didn't mandate that we increase it.
Oh, I thought they did.
They recommended.
It was
It was a recommendation,
right.
but there was never a mandate.
But I honestly think that that was one of the strong variables that kept us healthy. And even when we went through flu season this year, we do believe that that has helped. And so we maintain it running at 30% still, right?
Right, so where I'm going with this is now, are we gonna see anything because of allergies now at a high level?
Oh, sure you are.
Are we increasing that by our COVID standard of?
Oh, well, of course you are. You're increasing whatever's outside, you're bringing more of it in.
I'm not a doctor.
The Honorable Ms. Spinelli.
Winding down the season, the track team, the senior track meet, we're gonna acknowledge the seniors at the Putnam meet on Thursday. Middle school has one more track meet, softball's got 5 more games, golf is winding down also. Golf next, Wednesday is taking a trip to Fisher Island, they're going over to play, Fisher Island, it's the first time we traveled over there, the kids are really excited, and so is New Bergen. And so, at the end of the month, both the middle school and the high school awards are, have their presentations. This past Sunday, Alex Natchgal and Hannah Blair were our scholar athletes. They were at, Butcher on Sunday, the principal. And so they were awarded and acknowledged. And, okay.
How about our bowling team? Are you gonna put them in?
They got one shot, then do the next one.
Oh, we were on to something.
They had fun.
Maybe next year.
It's always next season.
Is there any old business we need to discuss? Okay, new business, athletic sponsorship.
So this popped up at our subcommittee communication meeting, and actually Mike Merrill had brought this to my attention a few years ago. This was pre-pandemic now, where I think his league had made some money about getting athletic banners and then tying them to the fence, right? During the season, and wondered if that would be an opportunity for us to raise money for our athletic programs. And so Heather brought it up at the last meeting. I spoke to Deb about that. There are right now you could talk about the table with the electronic sign that she wants to eventually purchase for basketball, which then we can have electronic ads added to that. So that's good for basketball. But on the opposite side of this, we also have to talk about, it does need board approval to have any kind of advertisements for any of our sports teams. And we've not broached that since I've been here. And I don't know if we want to take a look at some sample policies to do just that. I can research a little bit more information from Mike, where he ended up getting his banners. Did he go through a certain vendor? How did he approach the fundraising with all of that? But all of that means that there's going to be advertising on school grounds, and that's got to be a board decision. I know that there is somewhere in one of our older policies information about that, but I think it's something, if we're gonna want to explore that and do that, then I think we need to really go back to the subcommittee for policy and really root through what that would look like.
Is Mike Merrill Killingly?
No, he's, is it that Legion, the
Right.
Legion team that plays in the summer? They use our field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I did a screenshot of it. The Killingly definitely does it, and they were publicizing it on their Killingly either athletics Facebook page or Killingly schools Facebook page. But they do it in the gym, they do it on the field, they do it at the track. It's football. It's they do it for every sport. And I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like just from the playbill, you know what I mean? There's definitely an untapped potential, you know. I know my husband's company would probably sponsor something, you know.
Signed up up to-
And I just feel like, you know, in the midst of having such budget problems, and it would be nice to be able to have a little revenue stream for special things that we would like to have, but maybe aren't ever in the budget to have, you
It's an
know,
outlet for local business.
right,
To advertise.
The playbill idea paid for playbill.
right.
And you know, it was obviously Danielle's time and she did a nice job with that, but it did pay for itself.
I think you didn't charge enough, but that's
Well,
okay.
we were trying to be. We just wanted to be.
I think it'd be worthwhile though to see what, like, if you have a contact over at Killingly to find out what they charge, you know? Where do they source their banners? Cause maybe, you know, just to
They
even
have a
see
specific
what, if it's worth it.
policy.
Huh?
And what
And
their
what the
policy
policy
is.
is, right.
Just-
Obviously
definitely
Woodstock
need a
Academy, I
policy.
think, does that too. I've seen stuff all over their place, you know?
Just a question for Deb. Are there any CIA violations by soliciting? They do.
A lot
Okay,
of them, like Killingly, they're big, they do a lot of sponsorship for their golf tournament. And that's where they make a lot of money. So the sponsorships are on the placards that digital hold.
okay,
I do a lot of it there.
but there's no violations with us doing,
They have guidelines.
where do we get those guidelines? Just off the CIAC website?
Right, fine.
Okay, maybe we should at least just review that too.
It's something we should put together and then bring it back to the board. It might be something that you're interested in doing.
This is an exploratory. Yeah. Okay.
Be a policy. Well, yeah, probably start with policy, right? It would start in policy and then go to another subcommittee.
Well, right now we need to explore,
Yeah.
you know, get some data in and what does Killingly do? CIA, what do they?
CIAC. Yeah.
CIAC, what is their policy? And then we can see even if we can move forward.
Right.
And if we can, then yes, we'll develop policy. And obviously, we're not gonna let the cigarettes advertise.
No beer.
We're not gonna let the guy that's gonna open the marijuana dispensary, you know,
Right,
advertise.
right.
There'll be limits as to who can advertise.
Yeah.
Business.
But Anya's could advertise and the local store over here could advertise, any business right now could have, or not. Okay. Has anybody received any correspondence? I haven't. No, okay. I'll open it up again for citizens' comments. From the floor here. Or from Zoom, any citizens' comments? Well, again, I urge you that we have a very, very important vote on Monday from 12 to 8 o'clock at night. So urge anybody, any stranger on the street, remind them that we're voting from 12 to 8. So we need everyone. The average for people, this amazes me. Everybody is out there carping and complaining about budgets every year, but only 16 to 20% of the eligible voters in this town show up for the voting for a budget referendum to vote. We need to increase that number. So the more people that get out to, that we can get out to vote, the better off. I think we'll be, we've got to pass this budget. Okay. Then I will call for a motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
Stay on the whole